Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I hope you guys are having a great day. Welcome. It's so good to see you. I hope that life is treating you well. This is Money in the Morning. This is our daily financial consciousness training. This is where we get together and we talk about our economics every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And hey, Andrea, I see you in there. Namaste to you as well. All right, and it's I hope you guys are having a great weekend. I know I am. We have been I've been working on some stuff. I actually had some team members fly in to work on some things with me. If you watch my YouTube channel, you might notice there's a little bit of a difference in the studio setup, and I really want to get you guys feedback. I want you all to take a look at it and tell me what you think. I actually like what we do with Money in the Morning. I like my little background with my Panther, but at the same time, though, I'm open to change. And just as a little note, if you're talking about if you're talking about leadership, which I'm not an expert at leadership, but one thing that I read in a book on management or on leadership said is that the best thing you can do is as a CEO of a company is ask your team members what they think, right? It's not smart to think you know all the answers. It's when you think you know all the answers, then that pretty much means that you don't know very many answers at all, because the first answer you should know is that five brains is typically better than one. So when it comes to decision making, I always make the final decision. I know that I'm the boss and all that other good stuff, but I also know that only a sucker would make an important decision without thinking through all the options, without taking in all the available information. So keep that in mind as you make choices, especially for those of you that are young, young people. I think that you're fighting for your independence. You want to make decisions that are yours, but sometimes you got older people around you who've been through it. And they have an answer. And I think that when you talk about a couple of areas where our young people are struggling, they're struggling really in two key areas: mental health and financial health. Give me a yes if you agree with that. That our young people today are really struggling when it comes to being financially healthy, feeling financially safe, and secure, and also they struggle when it comes to being mentally together. Like they just y'all crazy, man. Like I ain't making fun of you, but I think the pandemic did a number on everybody under 30 seems to have really got jacked up by the pandemic. Us older folks, we kind of been there, done that. We kind of dealt with stuff like that before. Whereas it almost seems like for a lot of the younger people, there was something paralyzing about not being able to go outside for 2 or 3 years and missing out on key parts of your social life, your developmental experience. And as a result of that, you got some people that just didn't recover. They still, the pandemic just got them, psychologically locked down. And my heart goes out to them. And sometimes I'm like, gosh, I wish I could help them understand little things about life. Like, if you want to solve a problem or you want to get better at something, there's probably a book out there somebody wrote on that very same topic. If you can't figure out your relationship, there's thousands of relationship books and written by people that really know the science. Not your favorite YouTube influencer who's a 25-year-old who can't get a boyfriend. I'm talking about people that really have studied, people that really have looked at the data and sat, and have gone through 10,000 couples to see which types of couples last and which ones don't, and I don't know why that seems uppity for me to bring that up. I mean, there are people that really get violently rejective of the suggestion that using science to solve a problem is the best way to solve it. They get mad, like, "Oh, you think you better than everybody else? You think you uppity?" Well, here's the thing. Maybe you think I'm uppity, and maybe I am, but I don't think that being black should automatically be aligned with being miserable all the time. I think that there's some people who really think that if you black, you're supposed to be blind, deaf, dumb, and crazy, walking through the dark, always in the struggle, always like having your life fall apart over easily preventable mistakes. Does anybody ever notice that? Like, there are some people that just want you to stay stuck on stupid. They don't want you to know the answer. They don't want you to figure things out. They give you a problem for every solution. I call them the Negro naysayers. So the Negro naysayer will get angry if you come and you say, well, a little preparation would have helped you avoid the diabetes. No, you must be a Republican. You think you better than everybody else? Like, no, I just don't want you to get your foot cut off, Grandma. Like, or whatever. Like, just it's kind of like It's kind of weird to me, like, well, they have, if you read books on marriage and relationships, studies show that staying married helps you to have better, helps you to have better finances. I'm gonna give you some stats on that because I want to actually talk about a specific topic, and there are people who just get angry with that, and I think it's because we're addicted, um, to our generational curses. I really think that we're addicted to our generational curses the same way an alcoholic is addicted to liquor, even though they know the liquor's killing them, or a heroin addict, their body needs heroin, even though there's nothing in your body that is going to improve through consistent heroin use, right? Nothing. There's nothing in your body that's going to get better from the use of heroin, but you got to have it. You need it, right? And that's how you're coping. That's how you're getting through the day. You get your little hit in the morning so you can and maybe you're even functioning. You need your little liquor. You got some people that keep the bottle by the bed and stuff like that, right? So sugar, yeah, there you go, Kenneth. Sugar's really addictive. I mean, sugar. I think in a generation we're gonna figure out that sugar is just like that was like the secret horrible drug that everybody was using, and we didn't know how bad it was. Weed. There's a lot of young people because when they started to, and I'm okay with the legalization of weed. I really am. I told you I'm heavily invested in that. I own a lot of different companies that are going to pop up once they legalize cannabis, which I believe that they will, but I don't smoke it. And it's no disrespect to those who do. I use a CBD oil like on my knee. Like my knee gets stiff sometimes. I'll put it on my knee or on anything that hurts. But it's kind of like Robitussin. Remember Eddie Murphy used to say, put some Robitussin on it. No matter what the problem was, you just put some tussin on it. So anyway, I put I put the CBD oil on everything that works or everything that stops working, and it does work really well. But the problem with the THC, to me, is that you're dealing with stuff that's manufactured in these factories and you don't know what they're putting in it. And I also think that you should maybe, any person that really is a deep believer and a consistent consumer of cannabis should pay attention to the studies that show that literally your brain slows down. Like literally, if you use it too much and you lean on it all the time, you can't process information like everybody else, and everybody else will notice it except for you. Everyone will notice it except for you. And there was a time, maybe about 8 years ago, where a lot of young people were really getting into the weed, and somebody would come to work smelling like weed, and they wouldn't notice it because their brain, their mind, their nose was immune to the smell, but everybody else noticed it. If you don't smell it, you know the smell. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Anybody ever seen that? And you try to politely as an older person say, hey, you might not want to come to work smelling like weed every day. That's not going to help you keep your job, and you don't know how that conversation is going to go. But I think now, because people are aware of the smell, they switched over to the gummies. And so they might use the gummies, or they might drink they got every way in the world for you to consume it now. And so, but you can tell, you can just like I can just talk to you, and by the quickness of your responses to things or the way you react to information, I can just pick that up, right? Because I'm really sensitive to how, like, I know a smart person when I see one, I know a slow person when I see one. So either you're mentally slow or something's made you mentally slow, right? So anyway, long story short, these are little things I think that should be kept in mind, right? As we're making decisions and investments and movements in our lives. Somebody asked what weed stocks am I invested in? I don't remember all of them. I know that there was one with the ticker symbol YOLO, YOLO. It hasn't been a great investment so far. It's actually gone down, I think, since I bought it. But I keep buying it because I buy dips. That's my strategy. I like dips, and I believe that eventually, YOLO and some of the other weed assets are going to go up in value once they legalize everything. I think that that's what it is. And remember, here's the thing. This is the other part that's interesting. So, we should address this before I get into the real thing I really wanted to dive into. But basically. So there was a guy on Twitter. I mentioned something about the market crash on Friday. If you didn't see, the stock market really had a rough day Friday. And I said something about the crash and just some things you might want to look at in terms of, sort of benefiting from what's happening right now. And he said, He said, and you've been telling people for the past 2 weeks to buy stock. And so see what's wrong with you. You're the worst financial advisor ever. You're the worst financial advisor ever. But this is fine. When you have millions of followers, you're gonna have people crazy, you know, people in the group that don't like you, and that's okay. I get that. So I went back and I said, first thing I said was, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice. That's the first thing. I said, but secondly, the biggest thing you have to understand is that the stock market is a 10-year game. It is not a 2 week casino. Do you understand that? The stock market is not a 2 week casino. There's absolutely no way on earth, no way. And get this, my mama used to say that she'd say, I need you to get this through your thick head. So for the people that don't want to listen, I love you, but I need you to get this through your thick head. And I say this with love, the same way my mama loved me. Get this through your thick head. All of us, I got the thickest head up in here because sometimes I don't want to listen either. You cannot determine the quality of an investment by what that stock did in the last 2 weeks. It is absolutely impossible for you to know if that was a good investment based on what that stock did in the last 2 weeks. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? 2 weeks, 2 days is not enough. 2 weeks is not enough. 2 months is not enough. 2 years ain't enough. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors in the history of this earth, who's the best on the planet at making money, he's sitting on $165 billion in cash, and he was born with less money in his family than a lot of you have in your family right now. He said, if you're not prepared to own a stock for 10 years, you shouldn't even own it for 10 minutes. That's what Buffett said. Now, Buffett is not perfect. Buffett is not always correct about everything. Buffett's style is not the only style. I want to make that clear. But there's a point to be made about the significance of keeping perspective in mind when you are an investor. You cannot look and see like, oh well, I bought the stock at 5 o'clock and it's 9 o'clock now and the stock ain't went up. Well, the market ain't open at 9 o'clock, but you get the point. Like, well, I bought it on Tuesday, and it's been 3 days and it hasn't moved. It's gone down in 3 days. Stop that, please. You're gonna drive yourself crazy. You're gonna end up in a insane asylum just thinking like that. Okay, that's the first thing I want to share. Second thing I want to actually, before I do that, I wanted to mention that a lot of you are doing amazing things with your families when it comes to wealth. A lot of you have reached millionaire status. A lot of you have families that have investment clubs. You started businesses. Some of you bought your first home. Some of you are teaching your kids. We'd like to hear your stories if you don't mind sharing them. Here's a link I wanted to share with you. If you could like take a moment, you could do it during class if you want to, or maybe after class is over. If you could just kind of share your story, like let us know what you're doing. And I would like to shout out your story, so that people can be inspired by it. Maybe they can get guidance and instruction from it. And I know that when I meet you all and bump into you and you tell me your stories, I'm always really excited. I talked to a young black man at an event not too long ago, and he literally said he came up and he chased me down. He chased because he really wanted to talk to me. I thought he was trying to beat me up or fight me or something. But anyway, he chased me down and he said, "Man, I just had to talk to you." And I said, "What's going on? What happened?" And he said, when I started to listen to you in 2017, I was really broke. I didn't have any money. I was struggling." He said, I said, "Well, how are you doing now?" And he said, after about 5 years or 6 years of doing this stuff, he said, "I actually have three properties now, and I bought my last one for $700,000 cash." And I was like, holy cow, that's amazing. Like, that's wonderful. And that's not the only story. There's so many other stories I've had a chance to hear. And stuff like that isn't just good for the community in terms of us understanding the importance and the value of investing. It's also good for me too, because it really helps me to just remember, like, okay, there is somebody listening. Because a lot of times I'm gonna tell you the truth, from where I sit, you feel like the odd man out sometimes. Like I feel like I'm like, gosh, am I just the grumpy old man or whatever? Like, I don't know. Like I don't question who I am. I'm gonna be who I am no matter what. But a lot of times I'm like, well, maybe this world just isn't built for people like me. Maybe there's something weird about a black person who's saying like, okay, I'm tired of this. Enough is enough. I want to fix this. I want to see things better. I want to see us on top. I don't want to see us on the bottom, and I don't want to see us barely struggling to stay in the game. I don't want to fight for a seat at another man's table. I want us to build tables. I think we got men that and women that can build tables. Why can't we build tables? White men done built a billion tables, and we up here trying to get a seat at one. I don't want to do that. I want our kids building tables, and I want us to know how to be table builders. And I think we have the ability to do that. And I want to thank those of you who do listen, but I don't feel like I still it's still challenging because it's like, are we the minority, or is it my delivery? And maybe I sound mean, maybe I hurt people's feelings. I think I do. I think I do because I just can't. I have very low tolerance for BS. Things that don't make sense to me. I'm not gonna do it. Life's too short to be doing stuff you don't want to do. So anyway, I put the link in the chat, and if you guys can share your story, that would really help us a lot. Because I am of the belief that the Black Business School, we don't just talk about things, we show results. I did a survey with you guys, and I asked you, I said, do you have more money in your pocket because you've been listening to this and been a part of this? And the overwhelming majority of you said yes, which really makes me very, very proud. So anyway, that's that. All right. So one thing I wanted to talk about quickly as we discuss this, just finances and the things that impact our economic outcomes is, has anybody seen that show, that balloon popping show, where they pop the balloon and then that's how you decide who your baby daddy's going to be? You like somebody will come in and based on what they look like and what they sound like in the first 30 seconds, people will start popping balloons to decide to either accept or reject the person. It's really a fascinating show to watch. It's probably I personally I feel like it's a little bit unhealthy in the sense that it's just kind of mean. Like the New York Times actually compared it to a firing squad. They said it's like a firing squad for like, except you're being rejected from love as opposed to being shot. And I don't know. First of all, I wouldn't go on a show like that. How many of you would even want somebody popping balloons to tell you if they think you're cute or acceptable or not? I wouldn't deal with that. No, you take that balloon and shove it up your butt. But then the other thing is like, I don't even know if I'd feel like it's very nice to like pop balloons on people like that. I kind of feel like that's kind of unnecessarily cruel. And I think that we kind of are enjoying watching people go through the agony of rejection. And I don't know about anybody else, but I didn't like rejection. We've all gone through it. And rejection isn't fun, like rejection hurts your feelings and stuff like that. And but you got to act like you're tough. And I think for young people, it's really bad because they're still in their 20s, and in your 20s, you're sensitive, you kind of you're still learning who you are. And I would just say, if there was a young person who was like, yeah, I'm thinking about going on the balloon popping show and let a bunch of strangers judge me, I'd be like, no, don't do it. Like, why? Who the hell are they to have the right to pop a balloon on you and decide if you're worthy of love or not? That's crazy to me. But beyond that, though, I wanted to talk about it from another perspective. I wanted to help you understand that the balloon popping mentality that exists in our culture, the whole swipe left, swipe right nonsense, that actually doesn't just explain why so many people are going to die alone. It also explains why a lot of people are financially destitute. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that this balloon popping nonsense, like this kind of mindset, literally explains exactly why people are struggling financially, or it connects, the two are connected, because we've talked extensively about all the different studies. I've cited enough of them in this class that I don't have to recite them again. All the studies that connect wealth to relationship status. Did you know that? Did you know that people who have stable relationships are far more likely to have stable finances? Duh! Like, duh! Because if you have stable relationships, that usually means that you're a pretty stable person. And if you're a stable person, that means you're typically a pretty stable investor. And since your romantic relationships are the most important investments you make, more important than your stocks that you pick. I mean, I could pick the right stocks for you, but if you're not a stable person, you're not going to get any benefit from that. In unstable people, this is why exactly why we created the first ever Black financial therapy department. Because a lot of us have a hard time just being stable and emotionally mature and balanced and disciplined. Discipline is not popular in a world where people just do things based on irrational emotion. Discipline is not popular in a world of instant gratification. They call you a simp and a sucker and a pick me and a wimp and whatever and a square and all these they'll make fun of you. People who are on a path to self-destruction. Tell me if you've seen this. Give me a yes if you agree with this. People that love to live their lives on the path of self-destruction, they love to make fun of people who don't want to destroy themselves. Do you agree with that? It's Sunday. I'm gonna ask you, can you give me an amen on that? I really believe that. I believe that people who follow the crowd, they get angry at people who don't follow the crowd. People who make one bad decision after another, they make fun of people who work hard to make good decisions. People who make snap judgments, irrationally quick decisions that are going to be very costly. They clown people who sit back and say, "No, I need to think about that. I'm not sure. Let me get back to you on that in 2 weeks." Do you understand? Do you get what I'm saying? And what I can tell you is that this is what investing's all about. This is investing 101, people. Like before we before we even get to the money, you got to get to life. Life is bigger than the money. Money is a part of life. And believe me, if you ruin your life, you will ruin the money. Right? For sure. And now if you build the money could be, if you have the right mindset, be a tool for the enhancement of your life, or the money could be a powerful tool for your own self-destruction. I just watched a story yesterday. I put it on my Instagram. My Instagram's Dr. Boyce Finance. And on my Instagram, Dr. Boyce Finance, I shared a story. I believe I shared it. If I didn't, I'll share it today, of a young lady who was an internet influencer in Los Angeles who was making millions of dollars a year. And she got drunk, got behind the wheel of a car, and killed some people. Now she's on her way to prison. So in that case, money and clout, internet clout, might be the thing that destroyed her. I'm not sure. But either way, though, you see many people who use money as a way to destroy themselves. So life tends to impact your money, and then money impacts your life. They're like siblings, except life is like the house, and money is like a person that lives in the house. So the person that lives in the house is determined to destroy the house, then the house is going to eventually burn down. So if money is not accompanied with character and intelligence and thoughtful decision making, then these two people, your character and your money, live in the same house, which is called your life, and they get together, they conspire. One of them says, "Hey, you get the gasoline, I'm gonna get the matches," and then snap, boom. Next thing you know, the whole house is burned down. And then vice versa, if you destroy the house, then you kill the things that are inside the house. If I go and I blow the house up and your money and your character and all these things live inside the house, then those things could be destroyed as well, right? So it's a recursive system. One thing feeds into the other. So here's the point. Let's circle back on these balloon popping shows and that stupid crap. I just so you know, I'm not making fun of the people that make this show up. God bless. Congratulations, you're gonna make money. I think they got on Netflix now, but you'll never get my money. I'm not going on your show. Ain't nobody popping a damn balloon on me except my wife. And even she can't do that. Even she couldn't tell me that I'm a bad catch. No, do you know what? If she didn't want to catch me, somebody else would have. Okay. So here's the deal. First thing about the just the nature of shows like that, I get it. It's built on the swipe left, swipe life, swipe right culture that has sort of come to dominate dating, right? Online dating apps and all that. I've seen a lot of that, mostly from a distance though. I tried it when I was younger, but at that time it was kind of a new thing. And I noticed even then, even as a 30-year-old graduate student, I noticed that I was about to take my job on the faculty of Syracuse. Even back then, I noticed how that changed how dating took place. Before, you would have to work hard to meet somebody that you liked. There would be a process, and then when you found a good one, you held on to it because you knew that there would be some work. Search costs in economics, they call these search costs. There will be a search cost to find someone new. But then the apps come along and you've got all these different people that you can just pick and you can keep swiping and picking. And so what happened was the quantity increased, but the quality went down. Right. So you're looking at 20 people who all put a message in your inbox. So you think you have 20 options, 20 viable options for a relationship, when really maybe only three or four of those people are actually gonna be committed to you it's sort of a monogamous one-on-one sort of way, right? So it creates a distortion in terms of your reality. You have a lot of options, but you don't have any options at all. It's kind of a weird thing, and I remember being confused about it. I couldn't figure out like I don't know if a woman if the woman really wants me and likes me, or if I'm just one of 20 guys in her inbox. I didn't know. So if I pass up one woman who really likes me for a woman who I think likes me, then I could end up missing out because then she goes and I pick her, and then she picks someone else. Next thing you know, it's just it was chaos. It was absolute chaos. So thank God I was blessed with with being on TV eventually, where I became kind of known in my field, so people could Google me. So it was kind of so I stopped doing online dating because I couldn't do it anymore. People would Google me and they say, "Oh my God, you're this famous kind of person." So for thank God it stopped, right? So I started getting back to a different reality. It wasn't normal reality, but it was different reality in that I had to actually meet people and I'd meet women, get to know them, talk to them for a while, whatever. But it wasn't normal reality because because when a lot of people know you, you go a lot of places and people just come up to you. You know, pretty girls would just pop up out of the blue because apparently one lady explained it. She said the things that that I like in men are, she said, height. And I said, well, I don't have any height. I'm 5'8". I think I keep believing I'm 6'3", and because the people keep telling me I'm 5'8", but I think that's fake news. And I said, and she said clout. I said, okay, I got a little bit of clout. And coin. I said, okay, I know coin. I studied coin. I know how. I'm an expert on money. And then also sometimes like being smart is an asset too, right? So it was an experience. But the thing was though, I think when I look at the balloon popping show, and as I got older, I started to understand from a research based and from a life based perspective, just that how bad relationships were just such a wealth killer. In fact, actually, do you know how many of y'all knew this? How many of y'all know that when a man gets a divorce, his wealth drops by 77%? Did any of y'all know that? That literally you pick the wrong woman and you get a divorce, you might be on your way to the poorhouse. And oh, and also for women, ladies, your income when you get divorced drops by about 55%. So basically, divorced people just unfortunately, and if you're divorced, I'm not making fun of you, I promise. So forgive me if I sound harsh. It really, really kicks your finances in the ass. It really, I mean, you married the wrong person because you picked them on a balloon popping show. You might as well just go sign up and just go find the class on how to be as broke as possible. You know, like, because you done picked the lady because she had a big booty and spoke well for about 30 seconds. And now your finances are just absolutely ruined. They have another theory. They call it the thin slice judgment. And there was a research paper written on in 1992. And in the thin slice judgment, they said that people ruin their lives if they make decisions based on limited information. Like you see somebody for 30 seconds and then you pop a balloon, or you choose not to pop the balloon, right? You're literally taking in 30 seconds of information and making a decision on that this a person who might become the father of your child, right? And here's the thing: you might say, well, no, they're not going to be the father of my child. I just met him, but yet you're deciding in that moment to even let that person into your life. Do you understand? And let me just kind of explain it like this. I don't want to deviate from the financial side too much because it is financial. But I know guys who have, lots of kids, right? I know guys who have, I knew there was one guy I saw, he had 27 kids. He had 20 babies mamas, 27 kids. And so while somebody might say, "Oh, I would never have a child with a man like that," I'm like, "Well, you didn't know this man. You didn't understand that, by virtue of the fact that his track record was so strong with women, he's got a bunch of tools in his pocket. You know that he gonna find some way to sneak in your life. He knows he's a chameleon. He knows how to disguise himself as a nice guy. He smells good. He's 6'2". For some people, being tall is enough to get in the bed. Right? I mean, he was tall, handsome, very kind, and women could not resist. So a woman would be like, "Oh, girl, I would never get pregnant by a man like that." But then you let him in your life, and love is a drug. So that's like me saying, "Oh, I'll never be a crackhead." But then I'm like, let me take a little hit just to see how much I don't like crack. See how that's gonna work out for me. So the way I avoid alcohol is I don't go into the liquor store because I know that whatever's in the liquor store is good. The way I avoid drugs is I'm not even trying it. If you're using drugs, I'm walking out of the room. I'm not, I don't even want to be near you if you messing with dope. If you are toxic, if you're a toxic woman, I don't want to sit across from you. I don't even want to have dinner with you once. If I when I'm single and and I know you're toxic and I can see the toxicity from a distance, I don't want to be close to whatever you got because I know that you might stimulate the irrational side of my brain where the dopamine and the oxytocin live and then it might tempt me to dibble and dabble when really the alcoholic needs to stay out of the liquor store. They need to stay out of the bar. You can't be a recovering alcoholic and hang out at the bar. So the idea that you think that you can just let some person in your life, somebody who is great at sex, who's very smooth with women, who has studied. Like it's crazy. I wish some of these guys would study wealth as much as they study how to get some ass. Excuse my French. I'm not going to talk like that anymore. But if they studied wealth, it's hard. If they study how to get money, it's as hard as they study how to get another girl pregnant or how to get another woman. They'd be as rich as Warren Buffett. They'd have $50 million in the bank. So what I'm saying is that that really sometimes when you talk about decision making, irrational, unhealthy decision making, the biggest enemy that you confront is yourself. The biggest enemy you confront is the devil that lives inside of you, the temptation that lives inside of you. We all have temptation. All of us do. We all have things that can throw us off our game, that can cause us to make a bad short-term decision that has long-term consequences. So awareness therapy is beneficial so you can protect yourself from yourself. You're not protecting yourself from that man or from that woman. You're protecting yourself from you because you chose that man, you chose that woman, and you may not even know why. Or maybe you do know why. I just love a woman who looks like this. I love a man who's got a blah, blah, blah. I love, whatever it is. And because these are the things, this is how the devil gets you. This is how you get sucked in and you're like, wait, this isn't my life. How did I end up in this situation? Well, you need to ask yourself because you put yourself in that situation. Did nobody else do that? You went on the balloon popping show and met the man who was 6'2", who fit your whole fantasy of what you think a man's supposed to be. And within 30 seconds of hearing him talk, you held onto that balloon and went out on a couple of dates, thinking that it's not a big deal. And with each step in the process, he got closer and closer and closer to you. And about maybe the fourth date, you end up sleeping together. And at that point, it's kind of game over. If you understand biochemistry. You understand? When I wrote my book, Financial Lovemaking, I studied intensely the biochemistry of love and sex. And what you don't understand is that the universe and God, whatever you call it, did a major rope-a-dope on you in the way they will reel you in with sex. Like once you let somebody touch you, there is a chemical explosion inside your body that would absolutely blow your mind. So if you want to protect yourself from somebody or from something or from a bad situation, you got to know how to prevent before you say, I'm going to come in, I'm going to let it all happen, then I'm going to go back and fix it. Or I'm gonna reverse it all. It really reminds me of drugs. It's like if I tell you I could sit here and talk to you all day. I'm a decently smart man. I'm not stupid. May except sometimes when I am stupid. I could talk to you all day about how I'm anti-drugs and the devastation that crack has caused the black community and how crack is whack and it's bad for your health and all that other stuff. But if I take a hit of crack, my whole perspective would probably change just like that. I'd be like, well, drugs are bad, but you just got to know how to you just got to know how to handle it. I'd be my language would be shifty, and I'd be like, yeah, crack. I used to say crack was completely whack, but then I realized you can smoke crack and still get up in the morning and teach a class, right? I would start rationalizing unhealthy, irrational behavior. So how many times have you seen somebody go into something that was really bad, very stupid, very unhealthy, but maybe very pleasurable? And they start rationalizing decisions like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this, or well, it's just we're just friends with benefits and whatever. And what you're doing is you're kind of being sucked into this natural state of things. Like men and women are naturally attracted to each other. So why do I bring this up? I bring this up not because I want to just, I'm not trying to be a dating guru. I bring it up because you're investing, you're pulling yourself into a situation that's going to disrupt your outcomes in so many other areas. There are going to be side effects to the choices that you're making when it comes to your relationships. And one of the biggest side effects, all the data shows, is your money, your wealth. Uh, Divorced couples, they say most divorced couples, not only do they lose over half their wealth after the divorce, they also never recover. Most of them never recover. Now those of you that are in here that are working to recover, I'm praying for you, and I believe that you can recover. You're making the right choices. You're doing the best you can, and so you're doing more than most people. So I think your chances of recovery are higher than most. But the best way to solve a problem is to prevent the problem. And I don't really know if people get that. I really don't get that. So just to sort of summarize this and kind of break this down, um, so the balloon popping show, the reason that it's a dangerous way to make decisions is because there are lots of theories and research on how making decisions based on limited information leads to irrational choices and unhealthy outcomes. That's the first thing. Second thing, I mentioned thin slice judgment, which basically says a lot of people do this. A lot of people make important life decisions without really processing things. Why? I think it's a mental health issue. You've never been trained, a lot of people haven't been trained to sit back and just take their time, right? Calm down. Stop letting your emotions make your decisions for you. Learn how to breathe, sit back, walk away, and say, okay, let me think about this for a while. And if you do that, what you'll find is that your decisions will be much different. The third piece of information that's really important is on the flip side, when you talk about relationships, they say that the longer you date somebody, this is easy, this is two plus two. The longer you date a person before you marry them, the more likely it is that your marriage will survive. Also, if you have a long-term friendship with the person, they say that your relationship is likely to last longer because you have different ways of handling your disagreements and disputes. Your communication is different. I think they call it emotional resilience. Your emotional resilience is different. That means I can, like my wife and I have been friends for so long, I could probably tolerate more from her than I could from somebody that I just met on a balloon popping show a year and a half ago, right? Like, so with her, I can't replace her because I can't go find another person that I've known for 30 years, and as my friend, and make her my wife. And any woman I meet after her, it'd have to be somebody new, and then there's a lot of questions with that. Whereas with my wife, I can't replace my wife. Also, there are so many times where I would say to her, I'd be like, you about the only woman on this planet who could get away with saying that or doing that, and have me put up with that, right? Or it'd be a joke or something like that, right? So the emotional resilience increases when you have a friendship or some type of connection that's deeper than just, oh, I thought she was cute and she sounded good for 30 seconds on the balloon popping show. So I would say that shows like this, I guess, are good entertainment for people because they like to see people get, tortured and mistreated and rejected. I don't think rejection is funny. I don't think rejection is entertaining. I my heart goes out, especially when you talk about how many young people have mental health issues already. Their self-esteem isn't where it should be. Their confidence needs to grow. They're in a lot of pain emotionally. Also, dating is really, really hard for them. When I talk to young ladies, they're confused because they feel like the men just don't know how to be men. I think the broken family is a big part of that. If a man never was raised by a man who, like I'm married with children in my house, and my brother's married with children in his house because we saw our father married with children in his house. If we had not seen that, I really believe that we would probably say, why would you put up with all this stuff with marriage? It's really, really hard. But it was really, we were willing to do the hard stuff because there is a status that we saw that came with being the head of a household. Do you understand? But if I've never even seen a man as the head of a household, it's going to be hard for me to process it that way. So I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm saying that maybe instead of that being status, maybe I think being a rapper, a famous rapper is status or whatever, right? Or having five girlfriends is status, right? It's no disrespect to anybody who thinks different, but this is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a cultural imbalance here. And then also same thing, but it's not just the men. I think the women I think the women didn't have the balance as well. And so because I do believe that there's a way you treat a man. Some people don't want to acknowledge that. There's a way you should talk to a man. Some people don't acknowledge that. Just like I learned when as a kid, there's a way you talk to a woman. I couldn't talk to my mother the same way I talked to my father. So if somebody says, "Well, you don't talk to a woman that way," I'd be like, "Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't say it like that. Let me say it in a different way." But when you say that to some young ladies, like, "Well, you don't talk. You should talk to a man with a certain way. Men like to be respected." Ain't no, I ain't got to respect nothing. Yeah, 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 yeah. And then you're confused when a man's like, I don't want to marry you. I want to sleep with you, but I don't want to marry you because you're mean, right? So I personally think that re-educating yourself, if your goal is to have healthy institutions in your life, like a family that you can build around and all that, you're gonna have to re-educate yourself. I think you have to let go of political correctness, let go of what's popular because what's popular is not working. You're going to have to make your own rules, humble yourself. I think humility goes a long way. I think submission goes a long way. Anything that I want in life, whether it's building a business or building a family or getting in shape or whatever it is, whatever I want in life, I humble myself to that thing. Do you understand? I submit. Submission is a word that, for some reason, people decided it was a bad word. I think the word submit is a powerful and important word, and maybe it's an appropriate word for a Sunday. We're talking on a Sunday right now. If you're listening to this live, submit. If you go to church, you're submitting to God's will, right? If you get married, you're submitting to the family, you're submitting to the marriage. And to me, what submission means to me is it means that I am willing to, is today, wait, is today Saturday? I thought it was Sunday. Oh my God, I'm a crazy man. Thank you for correcting me. I see that. Woo, buddy, man. I said that earlier. I said it's a Sunday. I don't know. It feels like a Sunday. Ooh, okay, that's all right. We're gonna pretend like that didn't happen. So even though it's not a Sunday, we gonna make it a Sunday because I really think that that word submit. I think that submitting means humbling yourself to something. It means allowing the goal to be bigger than you, to be bigger than what you want in the moment and your needs. So when I married my wife, I submitted not so much to my wife per se. I do, even though that does happen sometimes. I submitted to the marriage, to the family. Because if I got up every day and refused to submit to anything, if I got up every day and said, I'm gonna do what I want to do, I don't care. I'm gonna just be Boyce. I don't need. Well, then the family would probably suffer because sometimes there will be a conflict of interest. So, same thing is true when it comes to wealth. Like if you're trying to build wealth and you've never done it before and your family never did it and you don't know what to do quite yet, you're gonna have to submit to the process. You're gonna have to say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna approach this like a newborn baby. I'm gonna absorb information, submit myself to whatever ideas I like that I think will help me get to my goal, and submit to becoming the person I need to be to reach the objective that I want to reach. When I decided to be an entrepreneur, here I was. I had a whole PhD. I had more education than 99% of all white people, and I had to submit. I had to acknowledge and humble myself to the fact that there was a gaping hole, a deficiency in my educational process. I had to again as cognitive. Remember, I mean, I was hot stuff. It was really hard to get that doctorate. Very few, no other black people got it anywhere on the planet. So that not that year. So it was really like weird for me to be like, damn, I'm stupid in this area. I don't know what's going on. I need to learn how to make my own money because all I've ever learned was how to get money from a white man. All I've ever learned was how to sit back and wait for some white person to write a check and pay me to do a job. I've never known what it's like to make my own money without their help. So I literally said to myself, okay, I'm gonna submit to this. I'm gonna go and study just like I would if I was a 10th grader. And I'm gonna assume I know nothing. And also when it came to being an entrepreneur, I realized I didn't have to just learn a bunch of facts and knowledge and information. I had to learn a whole culture. So I just inundated myself in the culture. I leaned on my subconscious. I would just listen to podcast after podcast on how to start a business, how to be an entrepreneur. I would hear entrepreneur stories, how they started where I was and got to where they were because I was like, I need to understand this because like right now I cannot visualize myself as a truly independent black man. I can't even see what that looks like. I've never lived my life without getting a paycheck. So ultimately, what I'm saying is at the end of the day, whatever it is that's going to help you build, you must submit to that. If you're trying to lose weight, for example, and you're gonna start training, submit yourself to the process, submit yourself to the trainer. If you join a group, submit yourself to the group because part of submission, the humility of submission, in my opinion, comes from accepting the idea that who you are is not enough. Because if it was enough, you'd have it right now. Do you understand? Like, submitting means you have to kind of say, damn, like, I want to think that I know the answers, but obviously I don't, because if I knew the answers, I would have applied it by now. And I think when you talk about family, I submit to family not just for the economic reasons. I mean, the economics makes a big difference. I don't want to go broke from divorce. I don't want to be fighting with my wife so much that all my businesses fail. I don't want to be miserable and struggle financially at the same time. So my goal every day is to figure out how to make sure I get along with that woman in the other room so that we can stay on the same page and operate together, which sometimes means I got to go and learn a new set of tools and skills that I did not have before. Like if you ever really want to grow, put yourself in an uncomfortable situation that forces you to grow. You have to like, damn, I need to go and talk to AI. I need to go read a book. I need to go talk to daddy. I need to go talk to somebody because right now the toolkit that I have to deal with the situation I'm confronted with is not adequate enough. But here's the reward. The benefit is that if you learn these tools and skills, you'll be far more likely to be financially successful than most people because what's happening is that the patience and the tools and skills and the emotional disposition required to keep a relationship healthy is very similar to the skills that are required to be a good investor. In fact, your relationships are a massive investment. Good relationships, I've seen good relationships build multi-million dollar businesses. I'll give you an example. I saw this performer that was really good. She's brand new. Her name's Doechii. Anybody seen Doechii? I think she reminds me of Kendrick Lamar, and it didn't surprise me. I think they're with the same record label. I said, yeah, she's kind of like a Kendrick Lamar, like I kind of like her. And one of the things about her is I thought about just times where there were I thought I contrasted her to another celebrity. I know what it is. Here we go. There's two young celebs. Bear with me now, because this is economic. There's two young new faces, new superstars that are on the scene. One is Doechii, who's black, and the other one is this lady who's starring in the Snow White movie. Anybody seen that? The controversy around Snow White? I forgot the lady's name. My daughter loves her. She knows her because she was on Disney apparently. But I don't know her name. But anyway, so Rachel something. So long story short, here's the deal. I watch things, I observe things, and I try because I'm always learning. Life is a big textbook. So I'm watching Doechii and how Doechii operates in the industry. And I think what made me think about this was I heard somebody say, I know what it was. My wife has a friend who's famous, and they went to lunch, and her famous friend said that in order for you to succeed in Hollywood, you've got to submit to Hollywood. You've got to basically give it all, like let people just control your whole career, right? Which can lead to some really hard choices, right? And so this and on the healthier side, it might mean, just having good relationships and making good choices and not letting your ego cause you to piss people off or to just be mean to people or rude and disrespectful. So I thought about Doechii and how Doechii kind of rose to the top because she's super talented and also she's got good relationships and she's working with celebrities that seem to like her, Will Smith and the lady from Insecure, stuff like that. And then I saw the Rachel lady, Rachel Zegler, that's her name. Thank you, Marsha, from Snow White. Rachel's doing the exact opposite. Rachel's just reminding you that white people can be ghetto too. Because Rachel, even though Disney has put probably what $300 million into this Snow White reboot, Rachel's been getting on Twitter and just saying all kinds of things that are pissing off the fans. She's disrespecting the franchise and like just saying crazy stuff. And I'm like, ooh, buddy, they ain't never gonna hire her again. No one will ever hire her because she's ruining the project. Like she doesn't realize she's too young to realize that yeah, you are a superstar, but there are people that had to put $300 million of their money into this movie. You can't go out here just saying whatever you want to say. You can have freedom of speech on your own time. Like the one falsehood of America is that people believe freedom of speech is for everybody. No, freedom of speech is for people that can pay their own bills. If somebody else is paying the bills, you can still say what you want, but there's going to be a price for that. You will pay a price for saying things that go outside the lines of whoever your financial benefactor is. So with each of those situations, what I see is an example of one person who has submitted to the process for good or bad. Dochi, who's doing really well because of it. She's getting awards and everybody loves her. And Rachel, what's her face, who is in the Snow White movie, who will never be hired by Disney again and may never get another job with anyone ever again for the rest of her life because she won't submit to anything, right? And maybe it's her strong feminist spirit that makes her believe that submission is always a terrible thing. But I don't know. My thought, if I was her dad, I would say, are you sure that you want to lose all your future opportunities because you're choosing to say these things? And if the answer is yes, then I say, okay, go for it. You're gonna have to pay a price for it, but if you're willing to pay the price, then go at it. Go at it. So that idea of submission, the question is, what are you submitted to? What are you submitting to? Everybody has to submit to something. Everybody has to submit to something. I have to submit every day to my 5 a.m. workout, or I'm gonna become fat. I have to submit to my family, or I'll be another broke divorced person. I have to submit to you because without your support, I can't do these things every day. I'd be sitting here talking to myself, right? So the humility of submission goes with the investment required to have a certain amount of power and control and success slash freedom, right? Freedom is never free. And freedom does, to some extent, require some degree of submission because freedom is connected to power. You cannot build power if you submit to nothing and you have di no discipline at all. A person that doesn't have discipline will almost never have power because power is something that typically has to be built. Do you follow what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? Power is something that is built. Hollywood was built. There's power in Hollywood. The banking system was built. There's power in the banking system. The NFL was built. There's power in the NFL. And sometimes we make the mistake of thinking we can have power without submission. We can have power without discipline. We can have power without a long-term plan. We can get power overnight. And then what happens is, and this is why a lot of your black celebrities get destroyed in public, is that you start thinking you have power and you got it overnight because you got a record deal or white people put you on TV. And then they're like, no, Negro, you thought you controlled all this. You don't control nothing up in here. We're going to remove you and replace you with somebody else. Like that example I brought in the other day where I showed you the story about Rick James when he made $40 million on his first album but only 13 million on his second album, and he turns in the third album. They gave him a check for $1 million because that's what he gets for turning in his tapes. And he gets so angry at the guy because he's like, sell my Emma effing record. And he gets up on the desk, he snorts a big line of cocaine, jumps up on the desk, puts his penis in the face of the record label executive and says, sell my Emma effing record, because cocaine's a hell of a drug. And that's what he did because he was Rick James. And we might think that those antics are great and hilarious, but that is the moment where the executive turned to the guy and said, bring me Lionel Richie. We're going to put our money behind him instead of putting our money behind this crazy man because this crazy man doesn't understand what it means to maintain healthy relationships. This crazy man, it thinks that he's bigger than the group. He thinks he's bigger than the purpose. He thinks he's bigger than the institution. He thinks he's bigger than the cause. And this is what fame does. Clout and fame are also a hell of a drug. And I think that's what happened there. And as you know, at that moment, Rick James's career was never the same. His career went down. And it wasn't because his talent went down. He was always Mr. Super Freak. He always had the talent. But one of the biggest things that people forget, especially for African American people, because we're caught up in the entertainment industry and we think it's all about talent. Who can sing, who can dance, who's pretty. And man, please, it's about the damn money. It's the money. It don't matter if you are the prettiest and can sing and dance the best. If don't nobody put no money behind you, then no, none of that, no one will ever see it. The ta talent must be distributed. People have to see it on a big stage or a big screen or across the world on the radio stations. Do you know how many talented singers and dancers there are in the black community? There's probably a million. You know how many? We have an oversupply of 40-year-old rappers, right? We have so many rappers and dancers and singers that it's insane. But most of them will never be famous. Why are they not famous? Because they don't have the economics. It's the money that drives all that. Money manufactures fame the same way Ford manufactures trucks. Fame is manufactured. Fame is created through marketing. Marketing costs money. So don't you ever think that it's just about the talent. Stop that. That's naive thinking. Sure, the talent's important. The talent is, in mathematics, we call that a necessary, though not sufficient condition. It's necessary to have the talent most of the time, but it's not sufficient. It's not adequate. It won't get you over the hump. That's not what's going to make you great. Getting on Instagram and singing and dancing and rapping is not what's going to allow you to truly have the fame that you seek. Someone with money, someone that writes a check. This is why economic intelligence is so important. Somebody who writes a check has to see that talent and say, "Oh, I'm going to invest in that person." That's why when the rapper Megan Thee Stallion became famous and said, "I want to go sign with Rock Nation," and the label's like, "No, we invested in you. We made you famous." No, it was my talent that made me famous. No, it wasn't your talent that made, because there's a million young ladies that can rap as good as you. And you're cute, but I've seen prettier girls on the street than her. She's pretty, but I've seen they're black women are gorgeous, right? So there's lots of people, and we know twerking is like at an all-time high. So it ain't like your twerking is something, some unique rare earth mineral that we can only get from the mountains of China. No, everybody twerking. Go to Atlanta, you'll see twerking in the damn airport, right? So ain't nothing really all that unique about it except for one big thing, and that's the marketing. That's the money. The distribution. Somebody put money behind your rapping and twerking and everything else. Not to say you're not talented, but if you think it was just the talent and not the money, then that's not, you can't make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with no jelly. And if you take the jelly out, you just got a peanut butter sandwich, and that just sticks to the roof of your mouth and don't taste as good. So the money is critical. The business, and this is why financial intelligence is so important for children. Why is that? Well, why do I have a 14-year-old who's a great singer and dancer and a super good performer, and she's gorgeous. She's 6 feet tall, as pretty as a mama. And I said, okay, at some point somebody's gonna approach you about being a model, somebody's gonna approach you about being an actress. So because she's got training and all those things. We just don't want her out there yet, right? But every time she goes to an audition, everyone's like, so it's like, oh Lord, here we go. So one of the things I told her is I said, I need you to learn economics. I need you to understand money, because I don't really want you out here, having to struggle in order to get an opportunity, in order to show someone how talented you are, or sitting at some hot audition where there's 1,000 other people trying to get that same role. What I want you to learn is I want you to learn what Tyler Perry knows. Tyler Perry, he financed his own shows. He wrote the script and he made himself the star. I don't watch any Tyler Perry movies at all, but I have admiration for this man because he understands business. He understands that the power on the stage isn't just given to the performer. The performer doesn't really have the power. The performers can be replaced. The power of the stage belongs to the person who built the stage or the company that built the stage. And they have to respect each other. And that's the thing. When you have bad relationships, or you have arrogance in the room, or you have people that lack humility or perspective or submission, the ability to submit to the process, then what you'll have a superstar who thinks that they're bigger than the person who built the stage. And then what you see happen also often is that stage gets taken away from them. And I brought up Megan Thee Stallion because what happened was she wanted to sign, I think, if I'm not mistaken, because I read everything. I like to pay attention to what young people are talking about. She wanted to sign with Rock Nation after she became famous. Now, Rock Nation didn't want her when she was just rapping on the street corners trying to make, a couple of nickels. They wanted her after she became Megan Thee Stallion, right? And the way she even discussed her decision sounded like somebody who didn't understand business. So basically, I think that she went to the company, and if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I hope I can get some of this right. She basically, I think she went to the company and was like, "Well, you invested $250,000 to make me famous. I'll give you your $250,000 back." And I said, okay, she doesn't understand investing. She does, that clearly means she doesn't understand even stock options. Like the way my brain works, I see that as a stock option. It was like it's like some, or but think of it like a lottery ticket. If somebody, let's say somebody says, um, I'm gonna give you $10 for a lottery ticket, and if the lottery ticket wins, then you get half the money, I get half the money, right? You follow me? You get this? Okay. And then you go buy the lottery ticket, right? And the lottery ticket makes $100 million. And let's say that you just decide, now that I got this lottery ticket that's worth $100 million, I don't want to pay, I don't want to give you half the money, right? First off, would if you were the person who gave the $10, let's put you in that in those shoes instead. Would you be pissed if the person that you gave the $10 to was like, "No, I'm not giving you your half now. Now that I won the lottery, I'm not, you're gonna have to fight me for it." I'll be angry, right? I'd be very upset. Okay. Now, what if they said, "Okay, you know what? I understand how you feel. I get why you'd be upset." And let's say that they came, they said, "Okay, but to make it right, I'm gonna give you back your $10." How would you feel about that? Would that be a good deal or a bad deal? What do y'all think? It would be a horrible deal. Right? It would not make any logical sense whatsoever. I would kick you straight in your balls if you said that to me, right? Because no, that lottery ticket is not a $10 ticket anymore. That's $100 million ticket, and you're trying to give me $10. You're trying to cut me out of the deal right when the deal got good. And that's what I saw when I saw Megan the Stallion telling the people that backed her financially, "I'll give you back your money. I'll give you back your $250,000." What she don't understand is that they bought a $250,000 lottery ticket. Because I guarantee you that if the lottery ticket had not cashed in, if she had not become famous, she wouldn't be giving them back a $250,000. She would say, "Ah, it didn't work out. Have a nice life." So it really becomes something like they have a saying in economics where it's like heads, I win, tails, you lose. Right? So that means if everything goes bad, you lose, but if everything goes good, I win. And that's not fair. That's not, but that comes from not understanding business and understanding investment, right? So again, if whatever industry you go into, you're always better off understanding your economics. If you are a smart investor, you won't just make, and this is why it's important for your kids to learn these things. If you're a smart investor and smart decision maker, you will make good decisions in every area of your life. You will make good decisions when it comes to health. You will make good decisions when it comes to your economics. You will make great decisions when it comes to your relationships. And what's going to happen is it's all going to connect. But mental health is really where it starts. And that's why our Black Financial Therapy Department is so important. And speaking of that, tomorrow night, Dr. Alicia, she's doing her book club. If you want to join her, she's the head of our Black Financial Therapy Department. And she's a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. So if you'd like to join her and get an invitation, just text the word love to the number 87948. So text love to 87948. A couple other things going on in the Black Business School is we're going to do a financial slumber party on April 18th, and the title I gave it is "Flip That Check." And the secrets to financial security. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get together at 11 o'clock at night on the 18th of April and basically have a slumber party. It's gonna be, except it's on Zoom. So we're gonna get on Zoom and I'm gonna play music and we're gonna have fun and play games and all that stuff. But we're also gonna learn finances. So if that's of interest to you, you can go to financialslumberparty.com. We made it into a membership since some of you wanted to come every month, so we reduced the price. So feel free to go to financialslumberparty.com. And also, last but not least, this summer we're going to Ghana. So if you'd like to join us in Ghana or go on any trip with us, text the word travel to the number 87948. So text travel to 87948, and I'll send you information on the trips that we're taking. So have a good day, everybody. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you.